Surprise! It's Friday, and it's a bonus episode of Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John.
And I'm Richard. Hi, everybody.
I know. This is for you, Dean TV, complaining about us not having a Friday episode. Hey, just a reminder, if you are not following us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, like, subscribe, Okay, we're done with that. Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing good, John. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm on fire today. Oh, my God. I'm on fire.
You're a man with a mission.
I'm caffeinated. Hey, a bonus episode means we take your questions and your comments and we read them in our viewer mail segment. But before we get started with viewer mail, just a reminder, if you are in Southern California, I will be at San Diego Comic Fest today, right now, as we speak. I should be there, and Saturday. So if you see me walking around, please wave me down, say hello. Would love to talk to you guys and say hey, and hear what you're buying and what you're specking on and what you're getting for your PCs, all that good stuff.
Again, you and your Southern California lifestyle. There's like no shows around here right now.
I know. It's a bummer. It's a bummer that there's no local shows around you, but you guys went to one about a month ago, right?
We did, yeah. And I'm hoping there's going to be, I think there's one coming up in Akron. So that's not too far, so.
The difference between me and you is I have to deal with all these other sharks in Southern California that are after the same things. I think the only person you have to look out for besides Forrest, our friend Forrest out there, is Mercenaut.
Oh, no, Nico's out here too. Don't He's out there looking for books just as hard as I am.
All right. See, it's not all beautiful in Ohio. All right. It's time for viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, why don't you start us off?
Okay. My first piece of viewer mail is from our good friend Mark Leneker.
Him again?
Silver Age DC has been a good buy for a while now. I recall John himself mentioning that trying to pick up a DC superhero comics from the 1950s, a desert period, is a good spec move. Yeah, there's so many first appearance. You do the normal first appearance, first cover appearance, first cameo, all those. There's so many of those in the DC universe that just have not been spec'd on that, only people who are buying them are hardcore collectors. And there's an opportunity right now to buy where the market is not and pick up these books for a reasonable price before, the pendulum swings and DC gets their act together and we start seeing these characters in movies and TV shows.
Do you know why 50s DCs are so scarce?
Besides the fact that they're 50s DCs.
Well, I mean, have you ever heard this before about 50s DCs, 1950s DCs?
No.
It was a time when, of course, you had pre-comics code. Comics were evil. There were Senate hearings. We had a Seduction of the Innocent, a book written about the evils of comics and their effect on juvenile delinquency. And DC, while it was, the bastion of good, clean fun, in terms of comic books, they never went down the EC route of grisly or gore and things like that. They were affected by this, and the print runs were substantially less. I mean, you had Superman at one point selling over 1 million copies an issue. That stopped in the early 50s, about 54 to 58. The print runs are really tight. And again, these books were read by kids, and they were not collected or saved. So they are definitely scarce. That's why that Origin of the Joker, the Man Behind the Red Hood, that Detective Comics goes for so much money because there's not a lot of them and it's got a black cover, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, First Flash is another example of something that is just unbelievably expensive. And I always wondered why it was to the level that it is. And it must be just the availability.
First, Challengers of the Unknown in Showcase. That's a tough book. First, Lois Lane in Showcase. All these books are super tough, period. Now, you talk about grade, they're almost impossible at this point because those high grade copies are in private collections. I think Roy Thomas has all of them. All right. My first piece of viewer mail is from Amir Steinberg, who writes, "My 13-year-old daughter loves Archie. This is in reply to my comment of our kids still buying Archie comics. Amir says, I'm one of those dads that buys Archie for the kids. I typically buy digests from the local comic shop. They are more expensive than one would expect, but they encourage reading. And like you said, the stories are timeless. Hey, they were dated when we were growing up in the 70s.
This is true.
And I loved them. I used to read them. Some of my favorite art. You could see it, like people like Jaime Hernandez were really Michael
Right.
All really influenced by Dan DeCarlo, Bob Montana, and all those Archie artists, because you look at it, it's not something you usually think about Archie comics, but they're beautiful.
They are. And Dan Parent has kept that spirit alive. There's some excellent artwork in these books. And like you say, they were dated when we were reading them back in the day, but they are still a staple of what I started reading comic books about.
Look at the economy of line. And
Mhm.
by that, I mean, they said so much with one brush stroke that, the image guys would have like 1,000 crosshatches and the detail. But sometimes less is more. And that's what you get with some of these old Archies. And look at those covers, the suggestive covers.
But you're right. The influence on people like Jaime Hernandez are just unmistakable. And his simplistic, I'm not sure I couldn't call it simplistic. It's just his economy of volume is directly tied to those Archie comics.
Absolutely. All right, you've got an interesting piece next here.
Yes, my next piece is from Bat 227. Until CGC returns to giving out 9.8 grades for stuff that was 9.8 less than 3 years ago, I'm not convinced they've improved. What was a 9.8 3 years ago is now a 9.4, it seems. Just absurd grading on 9.8 copper books these days. This is a tough one. The problem with CGC grading is the problem that all grading companies have, is these grades are subjective. They're the person who's doing the grading is the person who determines that sliver of a difference between a 9.4 and a 9.8. CGC claims that they have 3 graders that review. They claim they have three graders who review each grade, but I'm not convinced that that's anything more than spot checking. Oh, yes, I hate you, John.
Here's the thing. I'm showing these off for a reason. I just got this package today. And I'm with you, Bat. I was complaining about books I knew in the past were slam dunk 9.8s, coming back 9.6, 9.4. The last 2 shipments I got, I always make little predictions on my spreadsheet of what I think the grade is. They've been bang on. Even that Secret Wars #8 that was a 9.2 that I just showed off, I thought it was going to be a 9.2. So I think it's okay now. I think whoever the new graders are may have been educated.
Yeah, I hope so. I think what the reader's asking for here is consistency in grade.
Oh, tell me, I'm with you.
And the problem is, as you get a new influx of graders, these aren't machines. They have individual eyeballs, and those eyeballs may differ in what they consider a 9.6 and a 9.8. And it's eventually, I see CGC doing some kind of artificial intelligence, and then scanning these books and helping them to grade them into different categories, and then have human graders refine that.
I'm afraid you're right, and I don't want that to happen, but I'm afraid you're right.
It's down the road. They have a huge database of pictures of all the different grades from every single book that they've graded, and that could be used to train a machine language system that could predict based on 10,000 9.4s. This is a 9.4
for the covers, for the front and back covers. You still need someone physically to go through the page.
Exactly.
Is that market value stamp there? What's the page quality?
Oh, absolutely. But I think it would help, again, categorize. I don't think it will ever be, I will grade this book by this computer, but I think you can say, well, this book has these obvious flaws and it goes into this track. And then these books don't have any of those obvious flaws, so we need to put it in this track. And you have a different set of graders maybe who have different levels of experience, and you could use that to kind of help shape the grading process and make things more streamlined.
I wonder if it already exists in some way, because we know some books have production defects, known production defects. Wolverine 134, it has a spine stress on the bottom left cover for every copy.
Mhm.
Transformers #1, there was a dull blade, cutting blade. So we know the back cover of Transformers #1 is always going to be raggedy. It's not going to be a super clean line. And they
40 has a little stripe on the cover that's on every single copy. Yeah.
So we know these things, and they've got to be in a database there that when that book comes across, the grader goes, oh, okay, I know I can't count this. So it's just the next step. I think you might be right.
It is. I know for a fact that they are hiring people who have computer skills. Now, what they're hiring them for, I don't have access to, but they are getting a brain trust, and I could see that brain trust turning towards some kind of automation.
Did they try to headhunt you?
I wish they would, because I would give them a lot of opinions for free.
You and I both. All right, let's move on. My next piece of viewer mail is from Stephen Blackwell. Stephen Blackwell, I know him. He is the owner of Interstellar Comics in Palm Springs. Hi, Stephen. Oh, and he's correcting me, which is fine. The Steel in the Morrison Justice League was John Henry Irons from Superman. Yes. How did I not think of that? I thought they were referring to Steel from, the Justice League Detroit and the 70s series.
Okay. No, it was the Steel from when Superman split into 4 characters.
Do you know the other Steel that I'm talking about with the red, white, and blue costume?
I do. Frankly, I didn't even picture that.
It ran for 5 issues before the DC implosion, and he was like a cyborg kind of Captain America ripoff. The Steel in Justice League Detroit was Hank Haywood, grandson to Commander Steel from the All-Star Squadron era, and he is also on DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Thank you, Stephen, for the correction. I don't know how I did not think of that myself, but I grew up in the Bronze Age. I believe the Bronze Age has something to do with the title of this podcast, in fact.
A little bit.
What you got next?
My next piece is from Jimmy Lee. Him again. It's not just Action Comics 276 that's flying under the radar. It's mostly all DC Comics. While everyone is concentrating on Marvel books, I've been buying up DC Key books for dirt cheap. Yeah, this is one of those, sometimes you have secrets that you don't know if you should share or not. And this whole thing about DC Keys, I think, is something that people can really, really, really find some bargains. I know I've been finding bargains. And it's definitely something I think people should look at when Marvel books are just priced out of the range of normal people.
Did you buy an Action 276 since Monday?
I have not. I'm waiting for the right book. To me, right now, buying for the PC is all about patience.
Yeah.
I'm not just buying whatever comes up. I'm buying what I want at the right price. And so far, I haven't come across that.
I shouldn't say this, but I'm taking a page from your book, and I'm looking for one book in particular. And it was interesting going on eBay this week and seeing how cheap it was. It's Boy Commandos #23. Oh. Now, why the heck do I want a Boy Commandos #23? Well, I worship at the altar of Jack King Kirby.
Yes, you do.
And for some reason, Boy Commandos #23 is an all Kirby issue from cover to back cover. He drew and inked the cover. He drew every single story inside. It is literally an all Jack Kirby issue. It's the only issue of that book. And that's such an unusual thing from the late 40s. And so I thought, I'm gonna go look. And there was a 6.0 slab on eBay, I think for $350.
Oh, wow.
I know, I was this close to pulling the trigger. I didn't do it. I shouldn't tell you guys this until I go buy it tonight.
Go buy it. One of the things I have learned is when the opportunity comes across, sometimes it's best to strike, because you never know if you have that opportunity again.
But let's talk about this for a second. A 6.0 DC comic from 1947 is going for less than $500.
Yeah.
It's, I know there's not a big demand for Boy Commandos, but Jack Kirby? Are people just not aware that this book exists? It's interesting to me. I don't know what the answer is, but it's just interesting.
Things are, like I said, things are cyclical. I mean, right now, the interest in those kinds of things are depressed. And I think that's because of the MCU. The MCU is kind of overshadowing the collector hobby in general. But that doesn't mean that at some point there's going to be room for something else to become popular. Just like, we're seeing Westerns come back into popularity, and the horror titles are definitely coming back into popularity. So yeah, now is the time to buy those kinds of books before the clock turns and the cycle changes and all of a sudden they double in price.
You're right. All right. My next piece of viewer mail is from Splash Panel Comics, who emailed us at bronzeofmoderngods@gmail.com. Hey guys, just weighing in on the conversation about online comics selling. Things are going well, and the community has been teaching us what it cares about. Who knew there was such a market for Bud Root's Cave Woman? I know. Are you aware of this book?
No, I'm not.
It's right up your alley. Go Google it. You'll be like, how did I not know about this book? Talk about good girl art. Cave Woman. All right. But our heart goes out to anyone who has to do all this from scratch. We have the luxury of working through an existing collection so we can price things to move. But if we had to factor in investing in inventory into the picture, in addition to bags and boards, shipping materials, domain names, price apps, subscription fees, we'd basically never make any actual profit. On an hour-by-hour basis, you sometimes wonder if you make more money at a part-time job. So the only thing that keeps us going is knowing that we are finding a home for comics that would have otherwise sat unloved in a basement for decades. And building towards gradually being able to invest in moving graded books. For what it's worth, Mercari has been our main sales hub. Look forward to every show you guys do. Glad to hear we aren't missing anything on Whatnot. There you go. Interesting about Mercari. I've heard a lot of people use Mercari. I've never dipped my toe in the Mercari.
I do.
Yeah.
When I look for a book, I have a circle of things that I look for it on. And Mercari comes out quite often. They have the book, or even more frustrating, someone bought the book 10 minutes ago when I'm looking for it. But no, I've bought books off of there. It's very much like eBay in terms of buying. The process is very similar, and I've never had a problem with it. It's just I've not find the volume of books as you'll find on eBay, for example.
Right. Pro tip: if you can, get an American Express card.
Okay.
Because you're fully protected 100% for everything with an American Express card. The benefits, this is not a commercial for American Express. Use promo code Bronze. I'm just saying they have such good protection that if, eBay or Mercari or someone rules against you, you can always go to American Express and have the charge reversed anyway. I've never had them tell me no.
Good tip.
Yep. All right. That's it. Short and sweet this week for the bonus episode. Hey, it's better than nothing, kid. Reminder, I am at San Diego Comic Fest today and tomorrow. Say hi. Richard, where are you going to be? Home?
I'm going to be home. I'm going to be home sorting comics. That's my life right now.
I'm with you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Everybody stay safe.